we were told that you can't work, you weren't able to work after sundown on Friday, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, Saturday.
Saturday, from sundown.
Yeah, it's a Sabbath of us, but I'm religious and I prefer not to do things. Sometimes I had to do it because, plans that I didn't know during the day, but I'm trying just to rest, not to do anything. I mean, not to work hard. Yeah.
いや宗教上そんなきゃいけないことになってるんだけども、それとまた別にあまり仕事をしすぎっていうか無理しないようにして
じゃあこれまで例えばこう金曜日のコンサートというのはまだ経ってる
金曜日そうかSo you've never done a concert like on a Friday night?
It's not that I've never done, but I'm trying not to do it. I mean, for example, the Tokyo Festival, there is 2 days, Friday and Saturday. And I didn't know I'm in Friday. I thought I'm in Saturday. And when I came here, I discovered it's in Friday. So, of course, I'm here, and I will know the problems from this. So I said, okay, but usually I'm not planning things to be in Friday. I'm not planning.
That's pretty flexible. Still, you will do it, though. You will do it?
What do you mean?
You will actually perform on Friday, then?
No, I prefer not. I mean, all the schedule of the tour is in the contract without Friday. That's what I'm saying. But things that happen like here, that I couldn't change it. So it's only one song that I could do. I'm not fanatic, let's say. I'm religious, I believe in God, but yeah.
金曜日から土曜日の休みがした宗教上の理由でなんか分かっている
Kind of an interesting subject to him that a person would have to stop working for religious reasons. Are there any other things that have interfered with your work because of religious reasons?
Yes, I'm eating kosher food. Yes, and anyway, I'm vegetarian, so I'm not eating any meat on vegetables and things like that. But and yes, I keep kosher. Things that is not kosher, I'm not eating. So most of the time it's mixed salad and mixed salad.
So religion affects your personal life more than your career then?
Yes, I believe in God, and I'm from a traditional family, and I was raised and educated to this, and I was in a very religious school, from the beginning. And I'm trying just, believe in God is something more strong than not to do something on Saturday. It's something inside.
Yeah, right.
And it affects your life in many different things. And I mean, I have candles in my room every Friday night. I'm doing the candles, and if I can cancel things and say I don't want to do on Friday, so I'm not doing from the beginning. Just, it's quiet for the body, for the mind. One day off, one day to be relaxed and not grow like crazy and not to work.
そういう物理的な要因が自分のかかっている神様に対して影響はあると思います。
Do you think that your belief in God affects you as a musician, as a performer?
I believe that there is something inside, because also my songs are there is two part of songs. There is many songs of God in my albums, and I'm trying, how can I explain it? In a way, the songs are with God, with believing God, with that everything will be okay. Like in the album Shaddai, there is a song called Eshar, which is, I turn in this song to my neighbor, and the neighbor in the song is the Arab who lives in Israel, and I tell him, please not fight, let's dance and not fight, let's forget the heartache, let's give our music love, let's believe. And I think it's also part of the religion to believe that, to go and to do the right things and not to think about the bad things, and I understand.
Yeah.
Good.
Sometimes he asks for interpretation, sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
でやっぱり例えばイエメンソング出したりとか自分でもなんていうの単純に神を信じることではなくて自分たちの救いが本当にというかそういうのがそういうことです。
You released an album called Yemen Songs, right? I guess your tradition, your cultural background means a lot to you. I mean, religion, I'm sure, is one thing. Belief in God is one thing.
Mhm.
Then also your own personal cultural background must also be very important to you.
Yes, it is very, very important.
Uh-huh.
You have to know that I was born in Israel, but my parents came to Israel from Yemen. They came to Israel in 1929 before Israel became a state, when it was only desert. And they brought with them a beautiful culture and beautiful songs, and all the Yemenite Jewish people in Yemen, they were in exile. They didn't have a good life there. And also it was a very primitive country, so they didn't have tape recorders, records, to keep the culture, to keep the songs. They didn't know to write notes. So the people took the music with them on generation to generation, more than 2,500 years. And it's important for me to bring this Jewish culture, the Yemenite culture, to the people.
So your parents taught you that very carefully?
Yes.
Oh, was that the school you attended? Was it a
No,
Yemenite?
no. It's only for my family. My mother was in Yemen. She was a singer in traditional weddings and parties. And when they came to Israel, she had to raise 9 children. So she stayed at home and, gave us, the children, the tradition, the songs. And, I was born in very poor neighborhood, so we didn't have money to buy new clothes, things like that. But we had a rich and wonderful childhood, warm, loved, so happy all the time. And I wanted that this song, this culture, people will know about it. And that's the reason I did the Yemenite songs in 1984 in Israel, to keep the culture, to keep the songs, to please my parents and all the Yemenite Jewish people in Israel. And it's not Israeli songs, it's just for my roots.
日本では EM の方に高い数がないんですけど、その前にその会話がこれは何だって基本的にこういうトラメロディーがトラディショナルな EM やイスラエルの反復をしますので、イギリスからだったらそうですね。
The only albums of yours that have been released in Japan are the album of Yemenite songs and Shaddai. This is a question about your entire catalog of albums. Do you tend to focus more on the traditional as opposed to, say, copying British or American styles? Do you focus more on traditional?
During all my life, even that I did Israeli folk songs or another songs, the tradition is keeping me, because this is the things that I was raised and educated, and this is the things that's important for me. When I started my career when I was 12 years old, I started in a theater, workshop theater, political theater, protest theater, and Bezalel Aloni, that is my producer, my manager, he did this theater, and we did, and it was like 1.5 hours doing the musical, talking about the problems, and then 4 hours talking with the people, discussing the problems. And so in this theater we did then one musical about the Jewish Yemenite people that came from Yemen, how they managed in Israel, how people reacted when they saw them. So all the time during my life, all the time I sang Yemenite songs, and the tradition was inside.
Do you think people in Israel expect you to always display your Yemenite background?
Yes, of course, they know me, and they know my background, and they know, they're very they love the Yemenite people in Israel. Now the music is like national music in Israel.
Right.
The food is national food. You can go every restaurant in Israel, you can find Yemenite food. Very spicy, by the way, but delicious.
What percentage of the population is?
Not much. We are 150,000.
Out of how?
Yeah, 100. Yeah. Around, and we have 3 million in Israel, so it's not so much, but we are small, but we are affecting the people in many ways. Also, we have the traditional weddings, the other, in Israel it's like a place that people came from Morocco, from Germany, from France, Italy, communities, many. And I think the Yemenite people in Israel are the only community that's still keeping the tradition of the weddings, for example. So all the people like to see it because it's very interesting. And all my sisters were married with the Yemenite costume, the traditional one. And it's wonderful to have something and to keep it, and
でも、そういうあれだったらさ、例えば家の以外の生系の音楽の話したいんだけど、めちゃくちゃ対立があったりとか、その感動っていうのは
There's a question about Israel in general.
Okay.
There are various, as you mentioned, various communities.
Yes,
French,
yes,
German,
yes.
also American,
Mhm.
whatever. Is there generally good feelings, or are there any negative feelings between the various communities? Like, for example, you said the Yemenite community has had a major effect on all of
Yeah.
Israel. How do the communities get along, though? Is there much rivalry or bad feelings at all?
No, people, I mean, now everybody is Israeli, we live in Israel. They came from the places.
Yeah.
And as my family, inside the families, they're keeping the tradition, of course. But all the young people are very Israeli. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they came from Yemen
Uh-huh.
or, I mean, I'm Israeli girl.
Right.
But I'm keeping my tradition, and I like it. And everybody can do it. And it's okay, it's just good atmosphere.
How about between, like, the European Israelis and the Arabic Israelis?
People that came from the east.
Yeah.
You mean? I mean, for example, at school we didn't. We had these problems in Israel because all the education that we had in the school is from the west
Right.
and not from the east.
Right.
And for example, we learned about poets that came from the west and not about Rabbi Shalom Shabbat that I'm singing his songs.
Yeah.
And but that's the reason I'm so happy now that now I'm bringing to the people the things from my family, from my forefathers. That says when I was a little child, it was like all the time they gave us, they push all the time, the West all the time, and we were very strong to keep it between the families. So this is the most important thing.
例えば音楽的に言って、イスラエルのジャズとか、ほとんどやっぱりイギリス、アメリカ系のものとか、イスラエルのあるいは例えばカズとか、イエメンになったり、イスラエルとかの時代の伝統のみたいなものが出てくる。
I'm sure that Israel has its own pop music chart. Is that, the question is basically, what is the mainstream? I mean, obviously you do something more traditional, but how about the majority of performers? Do they do stuff that's more Western influenced?
First of all, I did many things. Israel is very small, which means the market is very small. We have only one channel on television. Funny, I know. And we have 5 radio stations, that one of them is pirates on ship. So everything is small. And I did many albums, and for example, 3 albums Israeli folk songs. I did my own songs. I did like different Israeli songs, modern. That's a modern Israeli song. And I did Yemenite songs, the one that was very, it was for me very important. And but we're a very modern country. I mean, we have all the music from America, all the charts from England, and the Israeli people like that the singer will sing in Hebrew, not in English.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we don't have singers that sing in English.
Uh-huh.
It's very unusual.
Do you even translate popular British and American songs?
No,
into
no,
Hebrew?
no. Only new one that the people writing, the singers or the producers. But I think like in every country actually.
But there's a wide variety of stuff available.
Yes. I mean, there is also different, many singers that sing Yemenite also in Israel. But it was only in parties and weddings, just, between the families. And now it's more open. I mean, now even you can hear wedding of people that came from Germany or from Europe, like from England. They're using the Yemenite song because it makes them to dance and to be happy, and they like it very much. It's different. People know me as an artist, as a singer in Israel, not only Yemenite. They know that I'm Yemenite, of course, and it was very natural that I would sing Yemenite songs, and I'm very proud, and I was proud all my life. I'm lucky that I have another thing that I can do, not only, one thing. I can do many different things. And, I mean, we're a very normal country with many things.
じゃあ、例えば彼女が左の的なアメリカとかに行って
Aside from your traditional background, what modern music have you been influenced by? Have you been influenced by anything from the West at all?
I think for my mother. Only for my mother.
Really?
Really. I mean, I'm listening. I like very much Sting and Peter Gabriel and Paul Simon. I'm listening in my home when I have time. Now I'm 2 years, last year, traveling all the time. But still seeing the televisions everywhere, and I know, I'm aware that it's charts and everywhere. everything, but the most important is the Yemenite rhythm that is in my heart, in my soul, is very, very strong. And even that if I sang in Israel, for example, Israeli folk song, it was with my tune, with my voice, with my interpretation to the song. So I think it's much stronger than the things that I learned from my mother and from family in Israel.
じゃあ、ミュージシャンのあなたにとっては、本番的には非常に敏感な人が対して、ミュージシャンのするよりも、正直バックグラウンドが現状の方をしているので、現代的にみんなに見ている。
So I guess your approach can be summarized as like you constantly are trying to find different ways to express that sort of tradition that you've been given. But it's one tradition, but you just express it in many different ways.
Yes, that's the reason we did later. We did this conversion to Yemen and the Galbi, and actually it happened by accident. I mean, when we did the Yemenite songs in Israel in '84, it recorded a different way as usual. I was in a studio with the Yemenite percussionist, and it was just percussion and my voice without any tune. Later on, we put the violins and the cello and the oboe and the flute. So at the beginning of the work, I took a cassette at home to listen, and my producer took a cassette at home, and his children listened, and they said, "Oh, Pa, it's great rhythm. Why don't you do for us? Why only for the old people, traditional song? Do for us. We want to know this music. We want to dance." So that gave us idea to do a disco to the song, and we did it 1 year later in '85, Galbi, the first one. And then I realized that it's a wonderful opportunity to bring this music to the youngest that maybe will not listen to the traditional album, but through the legs, through discotheques, they will know also about the Yemenite songs, and it was important to me. It was excellent.
Huh.
Yeah.
You opened a new door.
Yes, yes. And for me, more to bring to the people the music in different way, but to bring it, it's pride of all my my roots, let's say.
じゃあ、例えば、イブニングアル。
In Ninalu,
エ
yeah.
ンネンニャこれがそのロンドンのね、エレクティアン・バビングっていうのがあとはまあ素敵なヨーロッパの人がいたからそれもやっぱりアクションになって自分としてはそういう方向になんか
Your success has been very surprising because it's been so widespread. I suppose the use of that song by Eric B. and Rakim, as well as the use of your voice on the record by Mars, has spread the success. But had you intended on going beyond the Israeli border?
You know, believe me, when we did the Yemenite songs, the silent we thought only to please our parents, to give them back what they gave us all these years, and to keep the culture, the songs, and that's it. And it was only to Israel, meant to be in Israel. It was a gold, a platinum, and by accident, you know, these pirate ships that I told at the station, on ships, where one English guy was working there, and he received this album, and he liked it. He sent it to his friend in London, Ace Records, a small label, but very, very important label. And he told them, you know, you will love it. And they liked it very much, and they bought the royalties from Israel. So I never thought about to be outside of Israel and to have a big career and big success. Everything was you know, like a big surprise. And of course, when I heard about Eric B. and Rakim, I was in Israel, and they phoned to me from London. Oh, there is a big hit now. Eric B. and Rakim paid in full. Your voice inside you. No, I said no, I don't know. So I told them, please send me because it wasn't in Israel yet. So they sent me the singer, and I heard it. I said, wow, it was surprising. You know, Yemenite songs with rap music. But you know, it was good production. I mean, it was excellent. I liked it. I liked it very much. And but you know, I was a little bit embarrassed because they didn't say anything about Yemenite songs, about Imina, about They didn't ask me even. But when I performed in Queen Elizabeth Hall in London, two very nice guys came to me, say hello. We are the Cold Cut, the guys that sent your voice to the song. And they apologized. They said to me, you know, we thought maybe you are in the desert somewhere. We didn't know who. But you don't exist. I'm here. You know, and you know, we became friends. We talked about music a lot, and they told me that they had the Yemenite songs, and they took it from the Yemenite songs. And they offered me maybe to work together in the future, but it's too early to talk. I mean, why not? Maybe. Who knows?
Can you rap in Hebrew?
I can. I try to do it in Yemenite. No.
じゃあ実際のところ例えば今言ってみたハウスミュージック後で変えるだから自分のその人なんだけどよくわからない。
Had you been aware of the big trend in England to have house music there? It's very popular. Had you known anything about that? Had you known about house music?
I know about house music.
At the time, do you know about it? When they contacted you, and told you that we have a hit, and they said big house music hit. Did you know what they were talking about?
No.
At the time?
No, of course not.
Yeah,
No.
until they contacted you, didn't know what
Yeah,
kind of music.
but you know, this song with the Paid in Full, it gave a big push to my song. You know, people that didn't know me before, or another style of people, you know, they knew me through the song. So in a way, it gave a big push.
Were those songs popular in Israel at all?
Yeah, it was, yeah, of
Was
course.
that right?
After the story, of course,
Yeah.
all the stations have, all the stations,
Yeah.
the 5 stations.
But all five played.
Yeah, yeah. And they played it everywhere in the city, and, you know, everything. They played them, they played my Minalu, and, you know, they could play with it. And the title of the singer was Played in Full. My singer. You know, the Eric B song was Paid in Full.
Oh, I see.
We did it Played in Full.
Oh, Played in Full.
Yeah, just
Okay.
like a joke or whatever.
Yeah, right.
例えばねでもそのユニアールっていうのが、16世紀にね、ラブシャロム・シャバっていうのが詩を元にしてだから詩も非常にトラジクラスでそういうあるなんて自分たちの伝統みたいなああいうもうキッチンがあってだけれども彼女は非常に好きだっていうことをなんか他のイスラエル国民反発
On that, let me see if I can get this song straight. It's in the Aleph.
Yeah. Okay.
And for the lyrics on that, you used what was the name of it was 16th century.
Yes, it is.
No, what is this name of it?
Rabbi Shalom Shabbat. Okay.
So, I mean, you use very traditional lyrics of that kind, and it was used in England in a very maybe some people would consider it a disrespectful way.
They didn't know what the song about.
Yeah, but did people like other Yemenite Jews become rather angered at that?
No, not at all. They understood as me that it was important for them that people would know about this tradition. And the lyrics are, yes, they are religious, but you know what the meaning of Ininali? You don't know? Okay. As I said, the Yemenite songs are very old, more than 2,500 years. The lyrics were written in the 6th century when the Jewish people were in exile. You know, from time to time they sent them, the imam, the king in Yemen, they sent the Jewish people to a place called Tihama, which is a desert-like place with no water, no shelter, so that they will all die. And this Rabbi Shalom Shabazi, the greatest poet of the Yemen, he wrote to God many songs, and he wanted to keep the people together. And the meaning is, even if the doors of the generous become locked, the doors of heaven are never. It's a big hope in God that we have to continue to believe and to go on, to give up. So they kept to keep the people together, to believe and to survive. So for me, it means a lot. I mean, now people, I think, know a little bit about the Minalu because I'm explaining again and again the meaning. You can pray when you sing the song. You can pray when you only just talk the song. But the subject are so important for me that I wanted that people will know about it. And it's how can I say it? Prayer is prayer.
Yeah.
You can have it at home. You can do it a different way. But at least if you know, you believe, it's important.
I guess it's interesting that it spread from the desert, in Yemen to Israel and then on to England.
Yeah.
It's a very enduring lyric.
Yeah.
例えばね、イギリスでもある種なんかオリエンタルな珍しいんでみたいになって作られて彼女の見てくるような愛のこれにイスラエルの変な
You seem to be very satisfied with the response you received in England, maybe other countries in Europe also. But maybe the people of Europe see you as something very unusual, because you come from Israel, because you have that Yemenite background. Are you satisfied with the way people perceive you, their image of you? You sometimes get the feeling that maybe they just think of you as something very unusual, as you know, an Oriental curiosity, that type of thing.
I don't know what the people think. I didn't ask the people that buy the album. Because, I received the gold albums in Zurich, in Switzerland, in Italy, in France, in Spain, and now in America it's coming to be, doing very well. So for me, I don't care what people think. For me, it's important for me to bring something to them. And I believe that now, after people know me more, they understand more about it. I understand them, that they suddenly something very different, special, strange for them from the beginning. So that I understood that people was a little bit tired of the same music that they used to hear again and again. And they wanted something new. That's the reason they bought the album. That's the reason they are very interested in it. But in 1985 we released the first Galbi single in America. It was in the Rockpool chart, but it was in England also. But it was, quiet, not a big hit. People wasn't my English. People was not. Was, how do you call it? Was not was. They aren't ready.
Oh, yeah.
They wasn't ready. So
they
it wasn't,
ready.
yeah. For this music, maybe in these days, in '85, now they are getting more and more, and they open because they want to do something new. So I believe that people, now understand and know me more than in the beginning.
Maybe also to you, image isn't that important. I guess the music is the message.
Yes, that's what. Yes, it is the most important.
As long as they listen to the music, that's fine.
Yeah.
The image of you doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I know I talked with many journalists in America, and they told me that they are, from the Yemenite album, they understood that there is a lot of emotion inside from the music, and I was very happy because even if they don't understand the lyrics, they understand the emotions, the rhythm, the atmosphere, and it's excellent. And I believe that music is international language. You don't have to understand the lyrics. If you understand the feeling, if something is coming to your heart, it's great.
やっぱり最近そのために今回特にヨーロッパパリとかそうなんだけどフランスを外的になったら非ヨーロッパ感とかに変調的な音楽を持っているようなそれはなぜ今ヨーロッパの政治なんかでそういうふうな変化が起きると
You said a second ago that people in America and Europe may be interested in your music because they're tired of doing the same thing, for years and years and years. Is that the main reason? If there's any other reason? Because in Europe right now, many types of non-European music are becoming popular.
I think because it's beautiful also. I mean, these songs was in the desert in Yemen, without any tape recorder, without anything, just people taking. So, in the desert nothing remains if it hasn't the strength from another world. And I believe that my songs have such a strength that people, immediately it comes to the people. I don't see any reason. I mean, if of course they like the music, and of course it's different, but also they getting the magic maybe, or something that kept this music so many years, and I hope more. And I can't, as I said before, I'm not asking them why you like it, but that's what I think. That's what I think.
やっぱ私なんかは彼女がさっき言ったみたいに非常に韓国の信じることがあってで音楽っていうのが割とピュアな感じでそのパワーがあったで逆に彼女なんかってその音楽が見てるとかやっぱりなんか信じてるようなもっとそれで非常に有名なメッセージを話してからそれで私の音楽が好きなものをパワーが
One of the things about your music that he likes most is there seems to be a sort of purity, a sort of power to it. He assumes owes to your maybe belief in a God. The strength of your spirit creates that kind of power and purity, and that maybe in comparison to European music specifically from England, it kind of has that power. Like you mentioned Sting and Peter Gabriel, but maybe those guys don't quite have the same strength of spirit, the strength of faith that you have. Have you ever felt that kind of a difference between your music and the music of other people? Maybe it is based on that sort of strength of faith.
I think so, because only the serious music, only the music that comes from some from the heart, or let's say from something that's very very strong. This is the music that's staying, and the music that is nothing without anything, only just rhythm and I love you, you love me. You know, you can do it now, you can do it. It's the same tune every day.
Yeah.
You know. And I believe, Paul Simon, I like Paul Simon because he has this thing, and also sing, and you can see a lot of emotion in the songs, and truth, and faith, of course. Yeah.
例えばね、そういうシーンで、今だから割と自分たちの伝統をこういろいろなものをしているが、俺からなんかこのシーンの何かを座って変えてやろうとか、ちゃんと言ったりの編集をなんか考えてたりしたり。
Do you think that ultimately your music could change the music scene in other countries, in Europe or in America?
Definitely, yes. And I talked with a lot of producers, when I'm traveling, I'm meeting many people, and they told me that that I influenced them to do things. And suddenly you can see many ethnic music is coming up, the rhyme music, what we call it the third world. And it's excellent. See the Gypsy Kings, they were a group 15 years, nobody heard about them because they were in the country and nobody, but after, and I talked to them also, but after the Indian Alu come back and the Yemenite song, and they saw there was people very thirsty for this music, then they had a huge success. And I'm very happy because I think in each country there is beautiful traditions, beautiful things that the world has to know, and I think there is a place for this music on the map of music. And it's great.
I guess the spread of information automatically spreads the music also. Well, people, when information spreads, they just have to read more magazines about people in different countries or on TV. They see.
Yeah, they want to know about new things.
Yeah.
They want to know. The people want to know, and I'm very happy when I'm hearing about new groups from Algeria or Africa or India, and they are suddenly doing things, and it's beautiful.
そういった形ではもう活動がインターナショナルになって彼女の曲自体がある程度こう予測したりとか影響したりとか例えばアルバムの謝罪っていうのがマイデイキングハートとかそういう定義されたりとか英語の曲もあるしそれはもうそれ自体も全然違うんですよ。でこのユニアルに使ってハールっていう陽気なのを出すと結構つけたがゆえにこういうなんかそうなんですよ。自分の家の中にそういう反面そういう
I understood this question actually. About the song. Okay.
Well, let me just make sure. And what one thing he was noting that maybe as you change the world, also the world might change you, because the songs he mentioned clearly.
No, so I have to tell you, I have to correct things. Okay. There is the Doublesided has a big history. And 3 years ago when I signed with Helget, German company, they gave me producer from England. And I told them that I wanted to keep my line and to go for Latvia and songs in Indian Alu because we had Indian Alu these days in Galway already. And they said to the company, and they said, no, I don't think people will love Yemenite songs. You have to do the thing, the song is very popular to sell millions of albums and things. And I told them it's not me. I can do it because I'm professional. I can do it, but I don't want to do it. And they told me, let's give a chance, give us a chance. Why you said no? And I was open-minded. Okay, let's give a chance. I was working with this guy, and he didn't like the Yemenite songs. We decided to do half Yemenite songs and half his songs. So he gave me many songs from America. And we were in the studio, and I said, it's not me, I can't do it. We had a lot of arguments in the studio. And God help him these days, and Indian Alu is number one here, because from the company from Israel, they released it. So when it was number one and the album was already finished, pressed. They pressed the album. And so they realized that I'm right, because Yemen had a big, received a big response, from the people. They like it very much. Thank you. And so I told them, you have a chance now. I don't want to do the album. Please don't release it. So they took the album under somewhere, and we did immediately the Shaddai album. And only the 3 tracks remained, My Aching Heart and Taking to Paradise Face to Face, from the English God production, because we didn't have time. When you have a first single, number one everywhere, in Northern Half-Bomb, the company operated. So from this compromise, they learned a lot. Now I'm in the middle of production, new album. I already did 3 songs with Thomas Dolby, and I'm going back after Japan to New York to finish with Arit Martin, the album. And all the songs are Doublesided and me, in English, Yemenite, Ancient Hebrew, so you will not find these things from here too.
But Thomas Dolby didn't try to change you any?
He sang Yemenite. He did a beautiful job.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm singing in English, and the songs in the album is half in English, half in Yemenite, but of course the rhythm is Yemenite, the atmosphere is Yemenite, and he was interesting to work with it because of my music. He didn't want to change me to be American, of course.
Yeah, he's a very international
Yeah, everybody wants, excited to do something. For them it's a challenge, to do something different, and I was very happy.
例えば今の話みたいにどっかに取られてというか音楽をこういうカバーでやってるような気持ちというかあとこういうことをしてるとかそういうふうに言われたことは言われたことがある。
He was wondering that when you go to other countries, or when you work with people from other countries, they must ask you like, please sing in the language of my country, or please dress in a certain way. I'm sure they ask you to compromise somewhat. They say, we respect the Yemenite side here, but we don't want that 100%. We want 10% of you to do it like this, or 20% of you to do it like this. Do you get much of that response?
No, I don't have time to hear people telling me what to do.
You have to be yourself.
Yes, I'm all the time, all my life, I'm going with my line that I want. They choose. People can like it, take it. People cannot like it, and it depends on them. I prefer in the album Shaddai I'm singing in English also because I wanted that people will understand as directly as possible the messages. And I can teach them the rhythm, the melodies, but I can't teach them the language. And but of course, all the atmosphere, everything is Yemenite, all the inspiration. Even if it's in English, it's not perfect in English, I'm not American singer. I'm doing it in my way, trying to bring them to me, not to go.
じゃあ例えばこういう世界の街で捉えるのはすごく狭いというか、その狭い領域の価値観ばっかりを摂取していて、もしもそういうのが今私に聞いてしたら、じゃあ今の確かにそういう人が中国の言語を感じたりするから、そういういいような気になれたんじゃないかなと思ったりするのは。
You were raised with your own culture. The culture of your parents, the culture of Israel, and that has made you what you are now. Do you think you would be that much different if you had been exposed to maybe like a wider variety of things when you were growing up when you were smaller?
I had everything in Israel. I mean, I know my sisters, my older sisters. I have 7 sisters, 2 brothers. I'm the youngest, the baby. So I remember at my home Yemenite songs, and of course Elvis Presley and the Beatles. It's not I
always had a TV.
Yeah, of course. I had everything. So it's just to look and to enjoy, but nothing was strong more than my parents and my mother.
Yeah.
It was the base, the basis, the base of my family.
You grew up in a Yemenite neighborhood? All the people in the
No.
It was like the people next.
Yes, many kinds. People that came from Iran, from Iraq, from Polish, many things. I remember when they came every Saturday morning to my mother to eat the Yemenite food.
Is that right?
Yeah. They like it very much. It's very famous. I mean, when you will be in Israel, I don't know if it's been. But everybody knows in Saturdays we have beautiful. Usually we have good food, but in Saturdays especially because it's in the oven from the day before, the night before, till the morning, and it's something very delicious. That all the kind of people in Israel, they like it. They
Is that right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you have it also in Los Angeles. I had one. There is a Yemenite restaurant.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's everything in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I know.
何でも聞いてきて。
そうだね、基本的に日本人と変わらないっていう。テレビもあり、ラジオもありと。ただし、その、イエメン系っていうと、その、大家族主義っていうか、そういうところがあって、だから、必然的になんかこう、親からね、こう、継がれてきたものというか、生きてきたのが非常に多かった。それだけの違いだもんね。
あまり日本に来てこんな長くよくわかんないんですけど、割となんか日本ではそういったような自分たちのカルチャーを楽しむというかみたいなんですけど、非常にアメリカとかそういうアメリカへの強い文化に言われてもそうなんですけど、なんだろう、じゃあそういうミュージシャンとして、そういう自分たちの伝統を見失ったところで、他の国のところからの影響ばっかり受けると、この音楽とか文化というのがどんどん疲れていくような感じがいたします。
ああ、それもうちょっと絞った方がいいよ。
そうだね。
っていうか、アイディアとしては面白いんだけど、基本的にもうちょっとその彼女の場合にこうなんていうか、
そうだね。
もうちょっと彼女に当てはまるような、例えばその周りのイスラエル、その他のイスラエル人がその親の文化に見向きもしないで育ったとかね、周りにそういう人がいたのかとか。
じゃあ割とそういうイスラエル全体のことについて。
I guess in the case of Yemenites, maybe like you say, all the people in the neighborhood would come to your place for the meals on Saturday.
Not all the people.
Well, not all the
Okay,
people.
of course.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
many
the people that
obviously,
the neighbors
yeah.
near to my parents' house.
Obviously, you attracted many people from the neighborhood, perhaps because of the closeness of your own family. So, whereas you obviously received a lot from your parents, maybe the kids who grew up next door to you, didn't get as much from their parents. Maybe they were more influenced by local Israeli culture, or even more influenced by the culture of the West. Did you find that to be the case at all? Were you more influenced by your parents than your peers?
I mean, in the family we are very strong. I was born in a very poor neighborhood in Trinity. I didn't have much money to buy new clothes. Things like it was like a miracle, one a year maybe to have something. But we had a rich childhood in the family, happy all the time. I mean, every night we are sitting all the family, my mother singing with the tin, with the tabla, and sing for us, and we are dancing all the time. We are very close to each other in the family, very, till now. I mean, all my sisters and my brothers are married. They are all over the country, but they are still coming to my parents every Friday night to do the kibbutz on Friday night and to come in to eat dinner. And maybe because people, if I remember now, the neighbors that came from Iraq or from Iran, they didn't have much. They didn't have things that we had, like the connection between not the connection. Yeah, the connection in the family.
Yeah.
We were so close and so happy. I mean, the Yemenite people in Israel are very known that they are very modest. They don't have anything, but they say, thank you God that we have to eat. We have what we have. They didn't have a big eye, they just to want something. This time I understand why they told you always be happy. What you have. Don't ask too much. Don't just enjoy what you have, what God gave you. And I don't have an explanation. I didn't see things.
But like, for example, if you know other Iranian children, do you think they were as influenced by their parents as you were? I mean,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yes, I know. Yes, we were. The Yemenite family all the time keeping the tradition so strong with love, not with nobody forced us. My parents didn't force us to do this or that. They gave us and they told us you can do whatever you like. You will choose your way. That's the reason that we are only community. I don't know the right community. That we are keeping the tradition of weddings, and you cannot find it in other communities in Israel. Everybody's going with a white dress, and Hilton or Neptune and we have 2 nights. One traditional for the parents, for the family, with the Yemenite costume, the jewelry, and everything. And if the couple wants to go next day to go Hilton with the wives, they can do it. But we are very famous in these things. That people liked it very much. And I remember when my sister was married, we had a white and a house, on the roof. We did the wedding. We didn't go to a hall, And all the people are coming from the neighborhood to look because it was interesting to them to see the way, the tradition of the wedding. It excited them.
それは例えばさ、資料の彼女は家に行こうとかと会えなかったりとか、そういうふうにアメリカはオーガニストを感じてるんだけど、報道が行くこともできないとか、そういうところがあるから逆に障害みたいなのがあって、強くしていることがない。
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that according to the biography here, you tried to go to Yemen one time, but I guess we're not admitted into the country.
I can't, I know, because it's a political situation. I'm not allowed to go there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think that makes you want to express the Yemenite side of you more? The fact that you can't go back there, the fact that you can't go back to your parents' roots, does that make you want to express that more, the Yemenite side of you?
I believe so, because I want to bring this music to everybody. People will know that we are Jewish and we have this tradition, this culture. I wanted to visit the place where my parents, lived and see the people. But I know from them that one journalist came from Sana'a in Yemen, and they told me, they're thinking you are the international singer of Yemen because it's Yemenite songs. Yeah.
So the people there identify with you.
Yes, and one Swiss journalist was in Yemen, and he took picture in Yemen, and he asked people and gave them to listen, and everybody knows me. And I can't go. It's funny. And he told me that maybe I can go with, he asked me, you want to go to the PLO? Things like that. And no, I don't want to go. I want to go. I want to be free. We have peace with Egypt. Egyptian people coming to Israel, we can go. But not to the other, not to Morocco, not to Kuwait, not to Jordan.
You're at war with all the rest of them.
Yeah, and he got the ambassador of Yemen in Jordan sent this journalist to me to give him a signature of the album because he liked it very much. And now everybody knows about Israel and about me, and it's important for me, for my country, especially in these days, that all the time problems and people see Israel in one way and that it's not true. Traveling a lot, and I see all the time one side and not the other side, and they charging Israel through a uncontrolled home, and suddenly people see that we have music, we have culture in Israel, we have things like a very normal country. And my dream is that I can go to all the other countries free, and they can come. They can come. Israel is open for people to come, but we can't go.
Yeah.
特殊な国で、例えば韓国
A while back you mentioned that you wanted your music to talk about peace in Israel, tell the Arabs to stop fighting with the Jews. Are you asked much about your feelings on the Palestinian problem in Israel or anywhere else in the world?
What do you mean if I ask?
Do people ask you about that much? Like, how do you feel about it?
All the time.
Oh, is that right?
All the time, everywhere.
Even in Israel, do they think of you as like an opinion leader?
In Israel, we are all the time. There is a very liberal, Democrat. We have in Israel.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you like.
Yeah, right.
And the most important for me, not to say in Israel, to say outside of Israel, because we are in Israel. We know what happened in Israel. Many journalists from Germany and England, they came to Israel to do home stories of mine, and when they sat in my balcony, they were surprised, so quiet and sweet.
Right.
They expected to see, bombs.
Yeah, right.
And I told them, hey, please. And I took them to Jerusalem, to the market, Arabian market, and all the Arabian people say, hi Ofra, how are you? We're very proud and very happy with your music. And they were in shock. I told them it's not not the basis of war here. Israel is a country. We have problems, okay, we're not perfect, but what nation is? But deep in the heart of most people, the desire for peace. And they were in shock then. They told me that friends of them, when they heard that they are coming to Israel, they worried him all the time. Please don't go. You have to be careful with bombs and things like that. By the way, in the new album, we have a song, Middle East. And I'm talking about why people asking and saying that in the Middle East there is terrorism, there is fanatism that we have in Ireland and England, Iraq and Iran and all these countries. So just to open the people, the eyes, look and to be objective to the life and not to be like, to think more than think.
But I mean, you being an Arabic Jew, do people expect you to be more sympathetic to the Palestinian cause?
It's not, what do you mean Arabic Jew?
Well, as opposed to, European Jew, American Jew.
Yeah.
You have to pardon our ignorance, because we really don't know much about Israel. But inside of Israel, there are many different types of Jews. Well, not
all of us are Jews.
Yeah, Jews.
It doesn't matter from where. We have the same God, we have the same prayer, and we are like brothers. I mean, my parents came from Yemen, but I still feel all the pains for the Holocaust, the people that came from Germany. Yeah. We are brothers in blood and everything. It doesn't matter. There is no
lines. No lines of
There is no lines.
Yeah.
We are together. And, I was in the army. I was soldier. I was 3 years in the army. I mean, every girl in 18 years old needs to go to the army to serve the country. It's not secret that we have a lot of enemies around us.
Yeah.
And we have such a small country. I think we are the only country in the world that on the map, the name Israel is more bigger than the point. Really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the nation, the Arabic nation, so big. I mean, the Palestinian can go and be in Jordan, they can be in Syria, they can be in Egypt, in Kuwait, in Morocco, everywhere, because they have the same language, they have the same culture, the same food, the same everything. So I think that they have many opportunities, but we have only Israel.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think that all people will come to Japan to live. We have the country, like the Japanese have Japan.
Okay, I guess we got what we need to know.
Good, arigatou gozaimashita.
Good.
写真が良くない。
あ、割と。